Greetings, my followers. Greetings to everyone. You are welcome to this English 102 with Brakson Tatah. And of course, we learn with Brakson Tatah. You are all welcome to this our classroom. You are welcome to this lesson. Okay, so the lesson for today, we are going to look at tenses. And the question is, we are going to look at tenses. So what are we talking about under tenses? So today we are going to look at the definition of a tense. We are also going to look at the categories or the main type of tenses. And the next is the simple present tense. Those are the three things we are going to do today. Okay. So starting with the first one, what is a tense? So a tense is a form of the verb that is usually used to express time. A tense is a form of the verb that is usually used to express time. It could be in the past, in the present, in the future, whatsoever. So far as it is expressing time, that is a tense. That is the first thing you should know. So secondly, we are going to look at the forms or the main type of tenses. Now, generally in English language, there are three main types of tenses. Three main types of tenses. Okay. So the first one is the simple present tense, the simple past tense, and the future tense. So that is three. So I name them again: the simple present tense, the past tense, and the future tense. So those are the three main types or category of tenses. But now, before we dive into this, we have made mention of verbs in our definition of a tense. And the question is, what is a verb? Because normally you are supposed to know what is a verb before we dive into our topic of discussion. So what is a verb? So a verb is an action or doing word in a sentence. Okay? Let's give an example. Peter is playing outside. Peter is playing outside. What is the verb in that sentence? The verb in that sentence is playing. Peter is doing the action. What is he doing? He is playing. So that is the verb. He is playing. From that verb, from that sentence, you can actually determine or pick out what he is doing. You can actually determine the situation that is happening, the time. Okay, I guess you understand what I'm trying to say. So that is a verb. A verb is an action or doing word in a sentence. I am teaching. What is the verb in that sentence? Teaching. That is the verb, because I am doing the action. Anything that you do that has an action is the verb. Now, fortunately for us, almost everything that we do are verbs. Of course, yes, they are verbs. Almost everything that we do around us are verbs. Okay, so you understand that one now. So let's dive into the next one, which is the simple present tense. Now, if you want to build your vocabulary, you will not just need to know big grammar and their meaning and how to use them. Yes, you are correct. But you also need to know how to construct good sentences and use this good big vocabulary that you know. What I mean is, you must know, in order to speak English fluently, you must first of all know tenses. You must first of all know tenses. Tense is conjugation. When you know how to conjugate a verb, when and how, it will permit you to know how to construct a sentence correctly. That is why when you are speaking and you make a grammatical error, your subconsciousness tells you that this word you have used or you have not conjugated it rightly. Your subconsciousness tells you that immediately. Okay? So we are looking at the simple present tense. So what is the simple present tense? The simple present tense doesn't have a particular definition, but all you need to know is, with the simple present tense, it just deals with the explanation. It just deals with something that is happening now, or something that you do habitually, something that you do all the time, something that you do every day. That is the simple present tense. That is the present tense, of course. What do we do every day? For example, there are activities we do every day. We walk every day. We laugh every day. Of course, even if you have a bad day, but a day cannot pass. I have realized it. A day cannot pass where you have not even smiled. I mean, just a smile. Even if you had a bad day, but when you're scrolling on your phone, something can just make you to laugh or something. Okay, there are things we do every day. Okay, so that is things we do habitually. That is the simple present tense. So a simple present tense is what? There are actions that we do daily. There are actions that we do all the time. There are actions that we do on daily basis. Habitually. I like the word habitually. Habitual. Continuously doing something. That is the present tense. Or something that is happening now. That is the present tense. And of course, things are happening always around us all the time. So the present tense is always happening with us. That is, we always have examples of present tense around us, okay? So that is what you need to know. Okay? So now we are going to dive into examples. Let's give sentences of the present, or sentences that they are in the present tense. She eats every day. She eats every day. Now that is the present tense. She eats every day. Do you understand? Now you see, she eats every day. It is something that she does habitually. We eat every day, right? So that is a present tense. Something that we do habitually, constantly, we do it every day. Every day. She eats every day. Okay, now let's give another example. Peter and Mary go to church every Sunday. Peter and Mary go to church every Sunday. Of course, that is the present tense. You will ask yourself, Teacher Brakson, is that the present tense? Of course, that is the present tense. That is what you need to know. Now, it is the present tense because we said earlier that it is habitual, something that you do habitually. Do you get now the point why I say the present tense is something that you do habitually? Do you understand now? Yes. I'm glad you understand. So now, let's move to the next, the formula. Now, when you want to conjugate a verb in the present tense, you need to know that there is a formula. Now, in English language, for you to conjugate or every sentence in which you make daily, on daily basis in English language, like your daily life, what you speak, it follows a formula, a particular formula. You have to know that. You have to bear that in mind. Of course, you need to bear that in mind. Okay. So now, what is the formula for the simple present tense? Now, the formula is subject plus verb plus s or es plus object. I take it again. Subject plus verb plus s or es plus object. Now let's give an example that follows that pattern, that follows this formula. Mary eats every day. Mary eats every day. Of course, it's a habitual something that she does every day, so it's in the present tense. So now, what is the subject? The subject is she. The subject is she. How do you identify the subject in a sentence? By asking yourself, who is in that pen? Who are they talking about? She. Mary eats every day. When you replace Mary with she, that is the subject. You have identified the subject in that sentence. Mary eats. Now they say subject plus verb plus s. So now what is the next? They say subject plus verb. So what is the verb in that sentence? Eats. Mary eats every day. Mary eats every day. Now what is the verb or in that sentence? Eats. Now when you realize I am saying my eat, I not say eats, I say eats with an s at the end. Now I said plus s or es. Subject plus verb. We have identified the subject, we have identified the verb, and now we are struggling to identify the s and the es, or the es, sorry. Okay, so now we are identifying the es. The es there is in eats, like she eats, in eats. Are you people understanding? Now the s that is there in the verb to eat, that is where the s or es is coming from. Okay, now plus object. Every day is the object. Do you understand? Okay, so it's very, very simple. Teacher Brakson is teaching right now, or Teacher Brakson teaches English language online. Teacher Brakson teaches English language online. Okay, so now what is the subject? Teacher Brakson. Who? You are asking yourself who. Now if you give a sentence, or if you form a sentence and the subject is not being, if you see that the subject is not in that sentence, that means that the sentence is wrong. That is how you identify wrong grammar. You ask yourself who is doing the action. You always ask yourself who is doing the action. If you are asked to identify the simple present tense in a sentence, you ask yourself who is doing the action, and who is doing the action, and what is actually the action. Teacher Brakson is what? Is the subject. Teaches is what? Is the verb. They say plus s plus s or es. Now they say teaches, so it takes an es depending on the verb. I'm going to explain that very soon, shortly. So they say s, es. This time around it is es at the end, not so. Yeah. Now they say plus subject. Teacher Brakson teaches what? English language. So that is the object. English language is the object. Subject plus verb plus s or es plus object. Okay, as simple as that. Now let's dive into the conjugation. That is where I'm going to explain now detailing. Now the conjugation, okay, when you want to conjugate a verb in the simple present tense, you need to understand that an s or an es is only taken or written only in the third person singular. Only in the third person singular. I like that word only. Only. I like that word only. Only in the third person singular. That is when we use s, or that is when the verb takes s or es. When I say third person singular, you will ask, what is third person singular? Now the third person singular is talking about when your it includes permit me, okay, it includes she, he, or it. I repeat, she, he, or it. Okay, so when you see something like she, he, or it, that is when the verb takes an s or an es. Now depending on the verb. Okay, let's take for example the verb to go. Let's conjugate that in the present tense. I go, you go, I go, you go, he or she goes. Now the goes will take an es because the verb is ending with an o sound. That is why it takes what? Es at the end, not es at the end. Now that es is taken, you have realized that it is she, he or she. It's only he or she or it that takes an s or an es. He or she goes with an es at the end. We go, you go. they go. And you also realize that with conjugation, you appears 2 times. That is, you appears twice. You appears twice. You need to understand that. What appears twice? You. It appears twice. Okay? I go, you go, he or she goes. Take an es at the end because of the verb. The verb ends with an o or an or, so you have to add es. Okay? We go, you go, they go. Now when it concerns with the simple present tense, you have to note this. When it concerns the simple present tense, the verb, okay, the verb does not change. The verb remains constant. The verb remains the same. The verb is not, you don't add anything there. The only thing that you add is when it's at the level of the she, he, or it. That is where you add an s or an es, depending on the verb. Okay? So with the simple present tense, the verb, you don't add anything there. Or the verb does not change. The verbs are not complicated. Okay? The verbs don't change. They remain the same. Okay? Now let's take again another verb. The verb to eat. Let's conjugate that in the simple present tense. I eat. You eat. He or she eats. Now this time around, it's not going to take an es, but it's going to take an s. Okay? Now I eat. You eat. He or she eats. We eat. You eat. They eat. Okay? Now let me know if you are understanding or if you have any problem or any question in the comment section. I eat. You eat. We eat. They eat. We eat. Okay? So you realize that the he or the she or the it has an s at the end. Like I said earlier, it depends on the verb. It depends on the verb. Okay? Now that is what you need to know today when it concerns the simple present tense. Now you are going to ask yourself the simple present tense. Most people, they always tell themselves, I already know the simple present tense. I already know the simple present tense. Teacher Brakson, I already know. I don't know why you're stressing yourself. You need to understand that even I, at times, I usually make mistakes on that. Yes, we are humans, of course, and we make mistakes. Okay, so you need to know this. It's very, very important. I mean, tenses